to another tutorial on this course on Django. In this tutorial, we will see how you will use the Jinja format and the Django template language to import pages from one page to another page. Now, what is the need of importing pages? Now, for example, you're creating a very extensive and a very big website, and there is a repetition of certain code in your HTML file. Now, what you can do over here is that either you can have a loop and loop that data that is being repeated again and again, or what you can do is that you can use the Jinja format and import pages from one page to another so that the similar page can be just used in another page using a one-liner command. So this is where the Jinja format is basically going to help you. Now, what is Jinja format? How it is being used? Let's move on to our compiler to see all this stuff. So basically what we are going to do first is that we are going to create a new template page first, because since we have to import pages, so we need to have two pages over here. So I'm going to right click on this, create a new HTML file. We are going to create an HTML5 file and I'm going to name it as base. So I'm going to click enter and we have this base.html file already. Now what we are going to change over here is that in the body tags over here, what we are going to do is that we are going to change the color and we are going to make it equal to, let's say, cyan seems to be a good color. So this is basically going to be the background color for this body. Now in this body, what we are going to do is that we are going to create block content. Now what is block content? I will just explain. Now before explaining the block content, you need to know about what is Jinja format. So basically this over here, now this is what is called the Jinja format. You have to add this curly bracket and then this percentage sign. This is the starting of the Jinja format and this is the ending of the Jinja format. And whatever you write, you have to write in between these. And whatever you add in between these is going to be part of that Jinja format code. So Jinja format, as I told you, is helpful for a lot of things. It is going to help you to make things dynamic. It is going to help you to import things and a lot of more stuff. So what you're going to do over here is that you are going to write in block and content. And what you're going to do over here is that you need to also end this block. So you're going to write an end block over here. So this basically look like of a container type of thing in which you can do things. Now you can change the title as well over here. So let's just name it to tutorials and this seems perfectly alright. Now block content is basically a block where you can add content. So that's why it is also named as block content. Now what you're going to do is that you're going to open this index.html and what you're going to do is that you're going to extend this page, that is the base.html page. So what you're going to write over here is that at the very top right beneath this line doc type HTML, what you're going to write in that you are going to apply the Jinja thing and you are going to write in over here extends base.html. So now basically it is extending that base.html thing. So now what you're going to do over here is that you can just encapsulate this line, that is hello name, in between the block. So what you're going to do is that over here you are going to apply this Jinja thing and you are going to start on by writing block content. And at the end of this, you're going to just end it by writing end block. So now this hello name, whatever this is printing, is between the block content. So let's just run it now to see if it is working or not. So basically what we need to do first is that we need to run our server. So we are going to write in python manage.py run server. So it is going to run our server. Yep. Our server is now working. Let's just copy this address, open a browser window, paste this address, click enter. Alright, it says that it has an error that says invalid template name in extend stack. Now got this from base.html file. Alright, to see this error you have to scroll down, and here it is. It says invalid template name in extend stacks, and this is where the error is. So we have to just move in over here. We are already in index.html. Now it says that it has an error in this line. Yes, I guess yes. We are missing these quotation marks. You have to add the quotation marks and write the name of the file in this. So let's just move again, refresh this page, and yes, it is working now. Now you can see that basically we are running only a single page, and the name of that page is this index.html, which you can see from your views.py, because here you can see that you are only rendering a single page, that is index.html. But since index.html is extending the page that is base.html, where we have changed the background to cyan, so that's why here in our browser window we are only rendering a single page, but you can see that the background has been changed, which is what is mentioned in the second page, that is base.html. But since it is extended in index.html, so that's why we are getting this background as cyan and this hello friends over here as well. So now to see that if this is the very same output that is being printed or not, let's just change this index.html output over here, and let's just add 3 exclamation marks over here. Let's just refresh it again, and you can see that it is the very same output. You can also change the background color to see if it is working perfectly. You can just change it to red, and let's just refresh this page again, and you can see that the background has been changed to red and it says hello friends. Now to explain the good thing about this extension is that, for example, in this base.html you have 100 lines of code, and you don't want to write this code again and again in a similar way. So what you're going to do is that in any file in which you want to use this code of base.html, you are going to write only a single line that says extend base.html, and then whatever will be mentioned in this block content will be a part of that output when you will be rendering this page name as index.html. So this is how basically it works. So now let's see one more example of this Jinja format as well, and let's see how to add two numbers using the very same concept. So what we are going to do is that after this, what we are going to do is that we are going to create a form, and we are going to write in form, and the action is for now going to be empty. And we are going to write in here enter first number, and we are going to enter second number, and these are basically the numbers which we are about to add. And now over here what we are going to do is that we are going to specify the input type. So we are going to write in input, and the type of this input is going to be text, and the name is going to equal to, let's say, num1. And finally we are going to apply a line break over here, and then we are going to specify the properties for the second number. So that input type is going to be equal to text, but this time the name is going to be equal to num2, and we need to apply a break line over here as well. And finally we are going to create an input button, and this time its type is going to be equal to submit. So good enough. So now we have created a form over here. Now all we need to do is that we need to just close the form tags. Alright, so this is basically our form created, in which we are asking the user to enter two numbers, where the first number is num1 and the second number is num2, not num1. So these are basically the numbers that are going to be added, and now we need to change this form action equal to add, because what we want is that we want to add two numbers. Now you need to do certain mappings for this thing. So what you will do is that you will open the file named as urls.py of the application, and in this you will do the mapping. Now in the urls pattern, what you need to do over here is that you need to add a path. So what you're going to do is that you're going to write in path, you are going to specify the first argument as the action, whatever you have specified in over here. That was add in our case. So you're going to specify the first argument as add. The second argument is going to be the name of the function which you are about to create in the views.py, in which the numbers will be added. So we will create a function named as add. So that's why we have written add over here. And then finally the third argument is going to be name equal to add. So what this function is doing right now is that it will perform the add operation in a function named add in the views.py. But for now, you know that we have not created any function named add in the views.py. So what we will do is that we will create the function in the views.py, that is add. So we'll just go on to views.py. We will just move here and let's just add one more line space. All right, good enough. So we are going to create a function named as add. It is going to receive a request. And in here we are going to write in render, return render, because it is going to return an HTTP response. So we are going to write in return render. We are going to write in request. And we are going to write in the name of the page where we want to which is basically going to display your result, because now we are not using our Python compiler to display things, but what we are doing is that we are using the HTML pages created in the Python to display the results. So we will create a file named as results.html, and that is what is going to display our result. So we need to create this HTML page because we don't have any page named as results.html. So we will go to new HTML file, HTML5 file it is going to be, and we are going to name it as result. So now we have this file created, and in this what you are going to do first is that you are going to extend this base.html in which the background is red, and we are only going to extend the background for now. So what we are going to do over here is that over here we are going to specify the Jinja format, and in that we are going to write in extends base.html. So now it is extending base.html, which means that the background for this output is going to be red. And we are now going to specify a title over here. Let's say sum of numbers. All right. Now in the body, what we are going to do is that we are going to specify the block content. And we are going to end this block as well. So now the block has been ended successfully. Now what you can do is that you can do whatever you want to do. So for now, let's just to check that if it is running correctly, we are going to write in result over here. So when we run this function now, what it's going to do is that it's going to print result for us, and that is only for the clarification purpose, so that we are sure that we are doing good up till now, so that we have got the pages correctly configured. So let's just see if the browser, yes, the browser is running, and let's just refresh this page. All right, I guess the server is not running. Let's just rerun the server. All right, the server is now running. All right, so we have got our output already. It says hello friends, because we have not removed that from there. It is at the very same place that says hello and the name. So that's why we are getting hello friends over here. And it says enter first number, enter second number, and submit. So for now, if we just add a number, let's say 5, and let's say number 6 over here, click on submit. So it says result. So this means that our pages have been correctly configured for now, because all these pages are now working in an alignment. Index.html is extending this base.html. This result.html is also extending this base.html, and that is the reason that we have the content of both these pages, because we are getting this form as well as the background as red, and we are also able to print this output, that is result, because everything over here is written in block content. Now to show you the importance of this block content over here, for example, if I just remove this result from here and paste it outside this end block, still in the body but not in the block content anymore, and I go to the browser, go to the back page, and you can see that it says hello friends, enter first number, enter second number. In the previous case, when I click on this submit button, you can see that we have that result printed, but now if I click on submit, you can see that nothing is being printed because now the result is basically out of this block content. So if I just paste it over here again, refresh this page, you can see that I have again got result on my output screen. So that is basically what is the purpose and the importance of block content over here. So now since it is working perfectly, so now let's just move on to views.py, in which we will just change this function that is named as add. So we are going to have value 1, and that is going to equal to int request dot get num1. So it is going to fetch the value of num1, whatever we type in that form. Then val2 is going to equal to int, and the very same request dot get, and what it's going to fetch for us is num2. Alright, so now basically num1 value is going to be stored in value 1, num2 value is going to be stored in num2. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to create an object named as res that is going to store the result of the sum. So we are going to write in val1 plus val2, since val1 contain the value of num1, val2 contain the value of num2, and num1 contain the value whatever is entered in the form field of the top, and it is going to contain the second value, that is num2, and it is going to be equal to stored in this val2, and res is basically going to equal to the sum of this. Now what you need to do over here is that you need to amend this line as well, that is return render. The first argument is going to remain the very same, that is request. The second argument is again going to be the very same, results.html. The third argument is going to be, as you know, the dictionary. And in here what we are going to do is that it is going to say result, that is basically the key, and the value of this is going to be whatever is the output of this res that contains actually the sum of the two numbers. So to explain this stuff, basically what this get is doing over here is that there is one more of it named as post as well. So a client or a browser submits an HTTP request to the server, then the server returns a response to the client. Now the response contains status information about the request and may also contain the requested content. Now get requests the data from a specified source, and post submits the data to be processed to a specified resource. Now what's the difference between these two types? Now both the get and the post methods are used to transfer data from the client to the server in HTTP protocol, but the main difference between post and get method is that get carries the request parameter appended in the URL string, while the post carries the request parameter in message body, which makes it more secure way of transferring data from the client to the server. Now in the next tutorial, we have a brief and a very extensive idea of what is basically the difference between these two and which one is to be used in what scenario. That will be discussed in the next tutorial. For now, you need to stick on to this thing. So what is basically this res? Res is basically an object. Now why do we need an object over here is because the data to the server is going to be sent first to the HTML page we created, that is result.html, and in that result.html, if you want to refer to this sum we have performed in this page, then we have to store it in an object and send it to the page, that is result.html. Now this thing over here that says result res, this is what will be sent as the data object. And now in the result.html we have to change the result as well. So we'll go to result.html, and in here what we are going to do is that we are going to just remove this from here, and we are going to create one more object, that is result, a colon, a double Jinja format, and we are going to write in the name of the object we have created over here, that is this result, that is basically the key over here. In the previous case, when we were printing the hello and the name of the user, whatever the name was, what we were doing is that we were sending the key. In this case, we are also going to send the key over here, and whatever the value is going to be, it is basically stored in this key. So we have typed in the key in this Jinja format, that is result. So if we, I guess, just run this code now, it is going to work perfectly. So I will just go back, refresh this page, and it is asking me for two numbers. The first number is, let's say, 3. The second number is, let's say, 6. Click on submit, and it says the result is 9, which is basically the sum of these two numbers. Now, if you just notice this address bar over here, you can see that we have the IP, we have then the port number, but you can see over here that we have the name of the function, that is add, then we have num1 equal to 3 and num2 equal to 6. Now, this is basically what is not secure, because if someone is using your website, he don't want this to pop up in your browser link page. So this hasn't to be the link over here, this hasn't to show in the address bar over here, and that is why get is not secure. If you have used post over here, then it would not have printed this thing over here, it would have ended right over here, and this would not have been a part of this address bar. And that is what is basically the difference between get and post. There are a lot of differences, but that will be discussed in the next tutorial. So one more thing before we quit on is why we have specified this int over here. Now basically we are using this int over here to convert the data from string to integer. As you can see that num1 and num2, when they were entered in the form right over here, yes, right over here, their type was equal to text. So what we need to do is that we need to convert this data into integers. So that's why, as you can see, that num1 and num2 are in single quotation marks, which makes them strings. So what we need to do is that we have to convert them into integers. So this we use.py, in which we have this int over here. The only purpose of this int over here is to convert that data from string to integer, and this request is basically the object which we are using or receiving over here, which contains the entire data that is being received as an HTTP request, and this get is basically getting us the number, that is num1, and you can see that it is in single quotation marks, which makes it a string. Then num2 is also in single quotation marks, which again makes it a string. Int is going to convert it for us, res is going to store the sum of these two values, return render is going to basically return the result and store it in this key, which is a form of a dictionary over here. Then in the result.html, what we have done is that we have specified another object result, and we have made it equal to the object or the key we have created in views.py. So you can see over here that whatever number you type in now, for example, you type in 9 over here, you type in, let's say, 6 over here, so the sum is going to be equal to 15. Yes, it is going to be equal to 15. So that's how basically you can also add two numbers using this very same concept of importing pages from one page to another. So I hope it is clear. So I hope now you are clear about this configuration of the HTML pages, that how 3 HTML pages were used to produce a single output. So that's how they can be used, and this is a very helpful thing that will help you in the future as well. So I guess that's a long tutorial. In the next tutorial we will cover on with the post thing and many other stuff. So I know you guys are excited because a lot of interesting stuff is going on over here. It's a bit tricky, but it is not difficult. All you need to do is to concentrate on what the flow of the control is, and you will be on the track to the most exciting and amazing website creation. So I guess that's enough to motivation for today. So thank you so much guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial. Welcome you to another tutorial on this course on Django. In this tutorial we are going to be covering the features of Django, but before we start on, as I told you that in this tutorial what we are going to do is that we are going to be studying the difference between get versus post. So before you start on with the difference between get and post, you need to know about what is HTTP. So for those having not much knowledge about HTTP, the first 2 minutes are especially for you guys. So basically, what is an HTTP request? Now, HTTP stands for the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and it is designed to enable communication between clients and servers. HTTP works as a request-response protocol between a client and a server. Now, a web browser may be the client, and an application on a computer that hosts a website may be the server. Now, for example, a client that may be a browser submits an HTTP request to the server, then the server returns a response to the client. The response contains the status information about the request, and it may also contain the requested content. Now, HTTP has certain methods. The first one is get, which you have already covered in the previous tutorial. Now, one more that is very important is post. The third one is put. Then we have head, we have delete, patch, options, connect, and trace. So these are basically all the types of HTTP requests you may need to use when you are dealing with HTTP. So basically, HTTP designs a set of request methods to indicate the desired action to be performed for a given resource. Although they can also be nouns, these request methods are sometimes referred as HTTP verbs. Each of them implements a different semantic, but common features are shared by a group of them. For example, a request method can be safe, idempotent, or cacheable. So now let's give all of these request types a quick look. Now the first on the top is get. Now get have been discussed in the previous tutorial as well. To give you a brief introduction again, the get method basically requests a representation of the specified resource. Requests using get should only retrieve data. Then the second one is post. Now the post method is used to submit an entity to the specified resource, often causing a change in the state or side effects on the server. Then the third one is put. Now the put method replaces all the current representations of the target resource with the request payload. Then we have head, which basically asks for a resource identical to that of a get request, but without the response body. Then on the fifth number we have delete, and the delete method basically deletes the specified resource. Then the next one we have over here is patch. The patch method is basically used to apply partial modification to a resource. Then we have options over here. The option method is used to describe the communication options for the target resource. Then on the next we have connect. The connect method basically establishes a tunnel to the server identified by the target resource. And the last one we have over here is trace. The trace method basically performs a message loopback test along the path to the target resource. So these were a basic introduction to all of these, and you will be using some of these in the future tutorials as well, because everything on a website you do is basically HTTP. May it be a request from an HTTP, or may it be a response to the HTTP. So all of these are going to be used in the future tutorials as well. But before we jump on to the compiler, I just want to get on to the main purpose of this tutorial, that was to explain the difference between get and post. So here we are having the difference between get and post. Now, so starting on with the use of the back button or reloading a certain page. Now, if you are using get, then get is completely harmless in this case. But in case of post, it is also harmless as well. But if you talk about bookmarking a page, then the page using get can be bookmarked, whereas the page using post can never be bookmarked. If you talk about the cache memory, then those having the method get can be cached, whereas those using post cannot be cached. Whereas if you are using get, the parameters remain in the browser history, whereas if you are using post, the parameters may go out. While using get, the next difference you are going to feel is about the data length, in which the data length is actually limited. Whereas if you are using post, the data length is not limited and you can use any number of data length. Whereas if you are using get, you have to be limited to a specified number. If you talk about the security, then get is less secure, whereas post is more secure. When we were creating the previous website where we were adding two numbers and we were using get in that case, you were seeing on the address bar that we were getting both these two numbers, which were actually a security leak. We don't want the numbers to pop in up there. In that case, if we were to use post, those numbers would not have been visible there, and that we will be seeing shortly as well. And as I told you, that data is visible in the URL in case of get, whereas when using post, the data is actually hidden. So this was a very helpful talk on HTTP and its types, and you need to know about all this stuff before we move on, because we are dealing with websites, and as I told you, HTTP is what we are going to see a lot. So I hope you have got an idea of all this I have been talking about. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to shift to our compiler to see the difference between get and post, and that how post is more secure than get. So I will just move on to the compiler right over here, and if you just go on with the previous code, and let's just run the server, python manage.py, run server, click enter, and let the server to run. Alright, so the server is now running. We have got our IP address. Let's just copy this, and yes, we already have our page. We don't need to paste it over here. So it is asking us for the two numbers. Let's say the numbers are 5 and 4. Click on submit, and it has displayed the result as 9. But as you can see over here, since we are using get in this case, we are getting both these two numbers in the address bar, which we don't want to show up here. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to use post, and then you are going to see that how post is more secure than get, and how it does not show any data over here in the address bar as you are seeing in case of get. So let's move back to our compiler, and the first thing we are going to do is that we are going to move into index.html, where we have actually created our form. Now in here, the action is basically add, which is the name of the function we are going to call on, and in here you are going to add the method as well. So the method is going to equal to post over here, which means post. So we are now going to use post over here. Now one more thing you need to add over here is the CSRF token. Now let me just add it, and then I will explain what is a CSRF token. Alright, so just click on tab, and here we are going to add our token that is going to be added in the Jinja format. So we are going to apply the Jinja format. We are going to write in CSRF. We are going to apply an underscore and token. So now this code, that is our form, basically is in the CSRF token. So what is a CSRF token? Now CSRF basically stands for the cross-site request forgery, and it is a type of cross-site scripting attack that can be sent from a malicious site through a visitor's browser to your server. Now Django has a built-in protection against CSRF attacks using the CSRF middleware, which is included by default with each new project. So if you just go on to the settings.py file and you move into your middlewares that are right over here, so here you are going to find, you can see over here that we have the CSRF view middleware, and this basically is to stop the cross-site scripting attack, and this is a middleware that is built in this Django application by default. So you don't need to worry about this. All you need to do is that in your index.html, where you are creating this form and from where the data is going to be sent to the server, you have to add the CSRF token so that the middleware becomes active over here and that CSRF attacks can be blocked over here. Now the question arises that how does Django CSRF work? Now when receiving the form submission, Django checks that the alphanumeric string value from the hidden form field matches and the CSRF token cookie received from the browser. Now a CSRF attack might come in the form of a malicious website that includes an iframe. Now the iframe includes a post form and some JavaScript type of code. So that is where you can be hacked and a CSRF attack can be launched against you. So that is how Django is going to stop it with using the settings.py middleware that is built in, that is the CSRF middleware. So now what you are going to do is that you are going to go into views.py, and in here what you are going to do is that you are going to change this get into post. So we will change this to post, and we will also change this one to post. So now I guess our job is done. All you need to do is that, yes, the server is running perfectly. Let's go to the browser window, and this is our previous address window in which we were using get, and you can see the numbers in the address bar shown. Let's go back, refresh this page. Let's enter 5, let's enter 4, submit. And the result is the very same, but the main difference over here is this address bar. You can see that the numbers which were showing in the previous case are now missing. And this is what basically is the difference between get and post. Now there are other differences as well, which I have shown you in the slides, but all of these differences are to be applied. They can apply over here. So I hope you have understood the difference between post and get. Now it's all on you to decide which method to use depending upon your need. So I guess you have understood the difference between the two methods, that was get and post. So I guess that's it with this tutorial as well. Thank you so much guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial.